All right, welcome back to the Cult of Belial. Anton, I'm glad that you're here with me. I've missed you doing these fucking videos. I don't like doing videos alone, bro. I feel awkward, and I'm just like in my apartment talking to myself, dude. And I'm let's be honest, dude. We're probably both considered crazy by most people. You know, talking to myself probably doesn't help. So I'm glad to
Yeah,
have
I
you.
feel the same, man. When I do videos alone, there's not as much flow back and
Yeah.
forth. It's really good to have another to flow with during these sort of podcasts or
Mm-hmm.
videos. So it works very well. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so what we're going to discuss here, this is sort of brought up again by Stephanie's question on the abyss. And I got into ritual earlier with Belial, and I went in there wanting to know more about Daath, right? And he's in true Belial fashion. Um, he sort of spoke like in this sort of encrypted riddle. Okay, and I spent a little bit of time dissecting it. So we're going to spend a little bit of time dissecting this gnosis. And while we're doing this too, we're going to talk about our experience crossing the abyss. Okay, doing abyssal crossings. So I guess I'll just start by reading off this gnosis here, and then at the end of it, we'll sort of break it down. Okay.
Yep.
So, Daath is silence. The rapture is silence. The mirror. Light can pass through, but not stay. It is where the weight of all your knowledge is weighed and balanced. For knowledge of secret things can be poison. It is where sanity becomes insanity. Beyond it is the ultimate truth, the essence, the all. As sent to you, seen as a fall by others. With and through me we shall fall. And that's the gnosis. So what do you get out of that, Anton?
Within the first two sort of sentences,
Mm-hmm.
he's already describing the infinite potential that is unlocked through the abyss and working with the abyss via crossing, etc. Which is something Abaddon is very good at, and he's the gatekeeper of the abyss, the angel of the abyss. That is like his turf kind of sort of thing. The abyss is everything that was and ever will be. It is nothing yet everything at once, including all of one's potential, powers, and skills. Through the abyss, you will unlock all that is already within you, was in you, and shall be within you.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So in my experience, and this is so the first part, he mentions Daath is the mirror, the silence, the rapturous silence. When we're crossing the abyss, when we're doing these sort of path workings, the only thing we can be certain that exists within the abyss is the self, right? And I very much line myself up with the Hermetic principles. When we gain knowledge of the self, we gain knowledge of the universe because we are mirrors to the universe and vice versa. We are reflections. Okay. Um, and while we're in the abyss, we are forced to look at and dissect parts of the self, and in doing so, parts of the universe. And I really love the infinite potential thing that you mentioned because it's true. It is limitless. It is. I mean, it's like fucking trying to describe infinity. You can't really fucking do it. Um, if you the failure to dissect the parts of the self and the ego, leading up to and during your crossings, and you're doomed to failure. Okay, like if you're just not prepared and you start working anywhere within the cliffeth, you are doing yourself a huge disservice, dude. You're gonna get lost, and it's going to chew you up and spit you out. I mean, just um, you know, in one of the spheres, I don't know which one it is off the top of my head, dude, but I mean, you're looking at parts of the self that, you know, incur wrath and rage and war, dude. And if you have no way to look at that without understanding that part of your consciousness, like leading up to it, you're just going to be consumed by that, dude. We talk, you know, people talk about possessions and stuff. Um, you know, like in fucking media and Christians think it's, you know, some fucking animal thing where you're like fucking chewing up rats and rodents and stuff. It's that what a possession by that sort of energy is where it's just all consuming. So like if you have ever met somebody who like you like they talk to you and they just get fucking mad all the time and they need anger management and you say that to yourself, you're like, this dude should fucking be locked up somewhere. That's more what possession looks like, you know, in a negative sense. In a ritualistic sense, it's way different. That's a different fucking topic. This next part, Anton. Light can pass through but not stay. It is where the weight of all your knowledge is weighed and balanced. For knowledge of secret things can be poison. So what do you get about that?
The last bit, knowledge can be secret poison. Is that correct?
Knowledge of secret things can be poison.
Knowledge of secret things can be poison. That's very, very interesting because some people, for one, cannot handle certain things that are given to them by spirits, be it the knowledge to curse, the knowledge to do love magic, the knowledge of the secrets of the universe, Gnosis in general. In terms of Gnosis and secrets of the universe, it can literally drive one mad a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of stress upon the human brain in general, that sort of stuff. It's sort of like when people do psychedelics and it damages them a little bit.
Yeah, that's a perfect fucking comparison, dude.
And yeah, you ain't gonna be the same after that. You're not the same anyway after, but you don't want to be damaged from it. You want to be changed in a beneficial way. You know what I mean? I've seen it happen heaps of times. I've described it in other videos, which is why I always, or sort of once or twice, have given a warning about the path. It's not all game. There is something you got to give, and there are risks involved in this. But in terms of the power to curse, the power of love magic, you may get what you want, but it may not be what you want in the end. Poison can be something that you just don't want in your life. For a love spell, it can turn into obsession, a stalker. You know, it can get real. What's the word? Sticky, real quick. That may be the wrong word to use. But in curses, you can abuse that power, and it can come back on you if you abuse it in the wrong sort of way. Not because of karma, but because I don't know, things protecting a certain person, gods of death that oversee people dying, or in general, things of that sort. But in terms of the abyss, I find it's mostly a case of just lost. You know, people don't always pass through the abyss. They don't get out of there sometimes. So a lot of people don't. They fail their crossing. They are consumed and integrated into the abyss with the other lost magicians, sort of like a hive mind effect. And yeah.
Yeah, and you know, when we're talking about, you know, when he says light can pass through but not stay, you know, I see this as like an allegory again of like one's own light passing through it. We're not meant to stay in the abyss. You know, we are meant to learn and gain from it and to be, again, become empowered by it. It's not somewhere that you want to reside, dude. From my experience, when you initiate yourselves into a specific sphere, dude, it's not just like a ritual thing. It is, you are encompassing that energy into your whole life and everything around you. So this happens, you know, you'll start dreaming really strange things, you know, of people attacking you, of fighting, of lust and things like that, of isolation, separation, things like that. That stuff can happen in your real life too. You'll get entities coming to you, entities that exist within the tunnels of Set, dude. Like they'll start appearing to you, and it can be a frightening experience. It's not a place that you want to stay in. And another thing too, and this is sort of talking about the tree of life again. And I'm going to clarify this a little bit later, but everything at the top of the tree funnels downwards, okay? And Daath would be about right here. There is no path that crosses through Daath or the abyss. What Daath is, it's much more like a skeletal structure to the rest of the tree of life. It's this, and then all the empty space around it. And it's also very much like the gate towards the Clippeth. When you get here, you're going to end up here as well. Okay. And again, it's much more like it's the best way that I can describe it is like a skeletal structure. Okay. So the rest of the tree of life and of creation can't fucking exist without the abyss, and vice versa. The abyss can't exist without all of creation. It's a balance. It has to be this way. And what else? Oh, knowledge of secret things can be poison. It is where sanity becomes insanity. Beyond it is the ultimate truth, the essence, the all. What you think you know and have progressed towards up to crossing the abyss, once you get there, it's all gonna get thrown back at you. You're gonna question a lot of everything. Like, even I was brought to like moments, like traumatic moments of my life, moments where I was, like shooting dope and alone and wanting to die. Times where I felt like, I really, the world would be better off without this person, and I wanted to take physical action. All that sort of thing, like that sort of stuff in and of itself can drive you mad. And when you are looking at those moments while you're in there, you're going to see this in a whole new way. And it's going, I hope you're going to like this one, Anton. It's going to turn everything on its head. Get it? Reverse? Sorry, that was kind of lame. Anyways.
No, I get it. It's good. I like it.
You would say anything about that? It is where sanity becomes insanity. Beyond it is the ultimate truth, the essence, the all.
Well, it becomes a question of what is sanity and what is insanity. Often people fear the unknown, what they don't know, the mysteries of the darkness. They are scared of just what they don't know. And sometimes they project certain things. What is chaos to the spider? Sorry, what is chaos to the fly is normal to the spider. It becomes a matter of perspective. It becomes a matter of the subjective normality, of the general masses or species or whatever you want to call whatever. I don't want to put a label and stuff. It's 2024, But yeah, it's perspective, really and truly. There is genuine insanity, I believe, yes, but it's more of a disabling thing and a damaged thing, the actual deranged thing, going in circles, achieving no results, not a matter of perspective, really, and it's interesting that you mentioned the flipping of things. It's where sort of pain becomes power. That's something
Yes.
I learned through a couple of deities which are heavily associated with Daath. Pain becomes power. You learn to transmute things. And a lot of people would see that sort of statement as something it's not really, you know what I mean? And they would declare it as more of a, what's the word? Sadistic. I can't remember the word, but it's where you get off from pain, the sort of thing. But it's not really
Masochist.
masochist.
Sadist.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's not really describing physical pain. It's more mental, spiritual. You know, the hardships of life.
Yeah.
Through the abyss, you know, you experience a sort of state of temporal death, and through that you are reborn again.
Mm-hmm.
Not like a phoenix, but more like you enter the pool or the Black Sea as someone and you exit it as someone else. And you can't even look at the person you once were that entered as the same as you. You're something entirely different. That's how I would sort of describe it.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention, people who like you come out as something entirely different. Uh, People that I have known and have known for a while have told me like, dude, you are fucking way different than the person that I knew. And it's like, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't really know. I know that I see it as sort of a good thing. I see it like I feel like on top of my shit. I feel um, like I have a better understanding of myself and of things around me. And this is sort of going to lead me into like talking about where where sanity becomes insanity. When you start getting a more perfect understanding and knowledge of yourself and of the universe, it's not going to be understood by anybody, really, especially not the profane, especially not by people don't live a spiritual life. Um, and we are sort of doomed to fucking keep that knowledge, and to just guide people, protect people, and in some cases, to destroy people because that is something that we are handed, you know. Um, it's funny. I was gonna make a video about the profane. I was like, what do we do with them? And those are gonna be the three things. Um, but that's if you try to speak to this sort of thing towards the uninitiated, it's gonna fall on deaf ears. And again, that sort of isolation, in a sense, can lead to a degree of insanity. You know?
Yes, I do agree with that. It's like a form of alienation, I
Mm-hmm.
suppose. I used to try to be very open with stuff to people, a bit too open, I suppose. And it didn't lead to bad things, but more just sort of a form of alienation or outcasting. Not properly, but you could tell. That's why I sort of stopped talking about it so openly. Until people sort of started experiencing things around me and they came to me. Some people genuinely interested. They're curious. They want to know. But they're skeptical still, which is fine, perfectly fine. Um, you know, but I suppose that's why the occult is hidden. And it's more of a lone path. It's not segregated. I wouldn't really say segregated. But
No.
it's definitely something that's just not meant for everyone. That's for a reason,
Yeah.
I suppose. There is a balance out there. There are meant to be people who do these sorts of things and people who don't, to keep a balance of power. Because if everyone did what we did and was able to throw this spell, throw that spell, summon this spirit, imagine the chaos in the world that would be. You know, like not everyone is responsible enough to do this sorts of stuff. You know?
Mm-hmm. That's another thing I was going to touch on. Like doing this kind of work, doing this, being involved in this kind of practice, especially leaning towards the left-hand path, it puts you, and I say this with as much humility as I can try to right now, but it puts you above them. Like that's it, you have to approach that with a degree of humility, because you don't want to abuse this again. Like, you got to have a level of meekness, to have the power and be strong enough to refrain from using it in most cases.
It becomes a case of a lion walking amongst sheep, or a wolf walking amongst sheep. And it's not just power. I can't describe it. I can, but it's difficult. It's when you interact with people, and you're not trying to let out a certain energy, but it's like the look in your eye, the way you move, the way you talk, just your general aura. It can be intimidating, and they can tell there is a big difference between you and them. Sorts of way, and you could sway people into certain outcomes that you want. You can just generally control the outcome of the situation by interacting with them, with the gaze you give them, and it can create either an attracting allure or a repelling effect as well on how you learn to use it, I suppose. But it's definitely a case of something more walking among the rest, but you look like the rest.
Yeah. All right. My favorite part of this whole thing, and we sort of touched on this a little bit. I said to you, is seen as a fall by others. With and through me, we shall fall.
Can you repeat that one? Sorry.
I said to you, is seen as a fall by others. With and through me, we shall fall. And again, this is channeled from King Belial.
Interesting. As seen as a fall from others. Interesting. I like that one.
Yeah, it's like, how do I put this? It's especially true when you are working with infernals. It is true to a degree if you're involved in any sort of witchcraft or magical practice. It's not going. People are going to look at you and be like, "That dude's on the wrong path, man. That dude's not doing good things." I will say, at least here in the West, that is becoming less and less the case. People are very open about practicing and being involved in, a whole host of pagan traditions and forms of natural magic and root working. But once you start talking about like darker entities, darker workings, anything of that nature, that is where you start to become accused of some things, or just looked at differently. You start to get the blame for things. It's, as we are gaining from this, as we are learning and evolving, because that's what this is. This is an evolution of consciousness going through this in a gross, like, oversimplification of things. We're going through an evolution and thus ascending. But not everybody's going to see it that way. They're going to see these changes in you and they're going to say, that's a bad dude. I don't trust that dude.
Well, especially during the first initial like shadow work for the phase and trials and tribulations, like, because your life's going to get a bit chaotic. You may even get a bit chaotic yourself during this. And from an outsider's perspective, it looks like a fall, almost like, damn, that dude's going through some shit, or his life's falling apart. And then, I don't know, next minute you're fine. Everything's actually better than it was before. It's like an instant shift once you sort of go through the phase. And an outsider perspective, it looks a bit odd, I suppose.
Yeah, and I guess Belial saying right there at the end, with and through me, we shall fall. I mean, he's great at fucking taking people where they are and just putting them in places they wouldn't have even imagined. Dude, that's like his fucking bread and butter, you know.
In very interesting ways too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like he'll break you down.
You go here, then there, then back down, then all the way back up, kind of thing, like through the hierarchy of whatever you want to. It's really, really interesting, I find.
Oh yeah, man. But that was the Gnosis. That was very. I loved talking about that. And it's not every day that you get to sit here and dissect this sort of thing with another person. You know, a lot of times when you're working with Belial, especially like if you're watching this video and you have nobody to talk about this with, which is probably going to be true for like most of you guys. It's something that you sit down with and you sort of have to unravel all of what he says yourself, dude, and it can be very mind-bending. Fortunately, though, we have a space for you to rattle off your ideas. You know, that is your home here in the cult. Because if you're going through this right now, I just want to say, you're not alone, brother. You're not alone, brother or sister. It's fuck. We've all been there. We have all fucking been there.
Indeed, it's good to be able to have others who can not just listen, but also point you in the right direction, I suppose, or help guide you through a period that may be rough or shadow work related, etc. You know, it's not all of it's meant to be done alone. You know, you do work with spirits through it, so why not other occultists that may be able to provide some advice, etc.
Absolutely, man. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about specifically with Abyssal Crossings?
Yeah, don't do it unless your spirit guides say you're ready. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't jump into it without really consulting your patron or your spiritual team, so to speak. It's not something you just dive into.
Yeah. Also, another thing too, it's also not something to be afraid of, if that makes sense. You know, it's something that has to be looked at with the respect that it deserves. You know, it's like one of those things where like, it's kind of a dumb comparison, but like when you're talking to a cop, you know, like, this dude can shoot you or lock you up in jail, but if you approach it the right way, in the way that you're supposed to, with respect, everything's going to be fine, you know? Does that make sense? Was that a dumb comparison? Because in my head, I was like,
that makes sense, okay. Yeah. For me, it's more like I suppose like a mushroom trip. Like, if you don't respect the mushroom's not going to respect you. Like, you're going to have a bad trip, kind of thing. Like,
that's a better comparison.
They're both good comparisons.
Yeah. Do we have anything to update people
on? The book?
Yes. So, all the sigils are with the illustrator. I will be paying her tomorrow. Once those illustrations are back for all the sigils and stuff, we're going to put it all in our file where they need to go. We're going to do a final edit, and we're going to get this book out, dude. It's fucking exciting. I'm fucking excited. Another thing, too, I think we did not mention here on the channel. We might have to do a short for this, too, to announce, or do some kind of announcement on YouTube. We had a poll in the Facebook group talking about what people wanted to see more of. There was like a couple choices, and an overwhelming majority wanted to have some form of like magic classes. Okay, so that's something that me, Anton, Dawn, and Tracy are all working on. Dawn and Tracy will be doing, they'll be starting out with spellwork classes. If you want to get your knowledge up on spellwork, those are the people to go to. That is where you're going to learn the most from. And those are the people that I go to. for any kind of spell work help, dude. They are a fountain of knowledge when it comes to this stuff. That'll be coming soon. Me and Anton are going to be focused on like the fundamental work. We're going to talk more about, you know, the meditations you should be doing, how, you know, breath work, chakra work, visualization exercises, covering stuff like, you know, I'd like to cover some of the essential rituals, like the lesser banishing rituals. We're going to discuss a bit of the Tree of Life, how to work and progress through there. We're going to talk about the Cliffith. And by that time, hopefully, when we get to like the fun stuff, like perfecting evocation and making evocation and invocation like your own practice, something that works for you. Hopefully by that time, it's going to be like you'll get it like that. That's my hope at the way that we're looking at structuring these things. And then from there, we'll probably branch off and do stuff like, ooh, my chest hurts. Painful stuff. And then what happens after, like you fucking progress through this, you know, and it's exciting stuff. And that, I don't know when that's going to happen, because that's, I was fucking looking at notes and stuff on like doing a tarot class, and dude, I'm like fucking way over my head with this thing, because the tarot itself, dude, has so much to fucking talk about. It's gonna be a long fucking sort of lesson in it of itself, dude.
In terms of tarot reading, like classes for that, the main thing we should focus on is just being able to read symbolism, being able to get that sort of message from the artwork within them. Because if we focus on the individual artwork, it gets iffy, because there's so many different types of tarot cards as far as out there.
Yeah, and I think the best way to do this would just be to do like the Rider-Waite tarot decks. My personal favorite's the Hermetic tarot, just because like all of the symbolism, all of the correspondences, and everything is already in that deck. Like you don't have to look far to know what's going on in that deck. And it's fuck, dude. Like it's a lot, and I'm gonna buy a whiteboard, put it right here. I'm gonna make fucking PowerPoints. It's gonna be a whole thing. And I'm gonna give you fuckers homework.
I'm very excited for this. Yeah, that's that. I'm very excited. I enjoy teaching, so yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. The fucking mouse won't work.